Hey everyone, did you know that Wormgods buffs melee damage by nearly 300%? And did you also know that the Glacial Quake melee works with Wormgods? Well, it does, and it looks like this. Without a doubt, this is broken. It's doing way more damage than it's supposed to, which makes me feel like it's unintended. So there's a really good chance that this may change in the future. I mean, look at the first boss from Prophecy. It just falls apart from the super, without Banner of War. And it makes sense too. With all the buffs I'm stacking, I'm hitting close to 500,000 damage per hit. Now speaking of buffs, there are 6 different buffs and debuffs I used, which may sound like a lot, but all you need to do is punch things at the right time. Oh, and some people don't know this, but Glacial Quake's melee is spammable. This is really important when it comes to using the super effectively, but I'll explain more in a moment. Okay, I'll be going over a few things in this video. How to best use the super, how to get all the buffs and debuffs, what uses this has outside of boss damage, and its viability without Wormgods. Let's go over the buffs and debuffs first. To start, we need the base damage of a single melee, which is 34,000 damage. Next, we need to figure out how much each buff increases our damage. Starting with Shield Crush, that's 25%, Transference is 10%, Knockout is 50%, Wormgods is 275%, Tractor is 30%, and finally, Banner is 40%. With everything applied, we go from 34,000 damage to 486,000 damage. That's a 1300% increase. Which is insane, but completely worth the effort. Just keep in mind that some buffs don't last that long, so it's important to get the super off quickly. Hey, if you have a second, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Alright, back to the video. Your damage with Glacial Quake is dependent on 3 things: the number of adds around you, managing your buffs, and how consistently you can hit the boss. Here is a breakdown of what you should be doing before damage. First, you need about 5 or 6 adds. Then when damage is about to start, kill 5 of those adds to build Wormgod stacks and wait for Knockout to go away. The reason for this is because you can't refresh Knockout while it's active. Now use Transcendence, and once Knockout is gone, punch 1 add to get both max Wormgods and Knockout. Immediately after you kill the last add, pop your super, jump up eye level with the boss, and spam melee. Being in the air lets you get more hits off quickly and is better for that burst damage. Another method for this is to use Transcendence and pop super at the same time, then melee the last add for both extra time on Knockout and Wormgods at the cost of super energy. A great place to practice this is on the Ogre in Grasp. There's a bunch of thrall that spawn right before damage, and mechanically it's pretty easy to do, even solo. Okay, we need to talk. Wormgods working with Glacial Quake is insane. It shouldn't work, but it does, and I think I know why. The game sees Glacial Quake's melee as a normal melee, therefore working with Wormgods, and is likely why other buffs, like Knockout, work as well. You know, that's crazy that this works, but what if you don't want to use Wormgods? What if you want a more on-demand, hard-hitting super, but easier to use? That's where Spirit of the Star Eater comes in. This will buff your super by 70%, which is a lot less, sure, but the setup is a lot nicer. And you only need 1 add before damage starts. Simply activate Transcendence, melee an add, and then super. This will heavily compete with the other melee-based super on Strand Titan with Banner of War, but is much faster to execute. The only setup you need is the 6 orbs, and that's not too hard. If Bungie does end up changing the interaction with Wormgods and Glacial Quake, Star Eaters may take its place, so it's good to know they're still going to be a viable option in the future. The last thing I want to discuss is the build itself and its uses outside of boss damage. Let's break down the build first. Starting with your Prismatic subclass, you'll need Glacial Quake, Frenzied Blade, and Thruster. Aspect-wise, you need Knockout and either Diamond Lance or Consecration. Moving to fragments, you'll be using Facet of Purpose, Sacrifice, Dawn, Blessing, and Ruin. Facet of Purpose is very important because picking up an orb will give you Frost Armor, which will then proc Shield Crush. And for your artifact mods, you need Shield Crush and Transference. Your weapons will consist of a 1-2 punch shotgun, tractor cannon, and weapon of your choice. Your exotic is, of course, Wormgods, and for mods, you'll need Hands-On, 3 heavy-handed mods, Melee Resist, Recuperation and Invigoration, Powerful Attraction, Outreach, and Distribution. Finally, for your stats, just focus on Resilience and Strength. This build is very punch first, punch some more, and then punch them again to make sure they're not moving. It's the embodiment of Titan. On what other class are you going to walk up to a champion, get shot, then leave a hole where their face used to be? Right. Since you make all the orbs all the time, you constantly proc Recuperation and Facet of Blessing for 100% uptime on Frost Armor. Oh, and Knockout Health Regen is a thing too. The footage you're seeing is me in a Master Loss sector that I just breezed right through. I'm destroying champs, the ads, no problem. And you do so much damage that you don't even need a stun half the time. I think it goes without saying that Glacial Quake and Wormgods working together is broken, but I don't really want Bungie to fix this, because after Syntheseps were nerfed, and given to every other class, Titans feel like they lost some of their identity. But with this, Titans feel good again. They're back as the definitive melee class. Alright, that just about wraps everything up. Please feel free to copy the build and give it a try for yourself. I'll leave it on screen for a little while. And if you do end up trying it and have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to answer as many as I can. If you made it this far, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.